All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And in today's video, we are going to talk about the server meshing live stream that just happened yesterday. Now, as of the recording this video, it is the 4th of July. Happy 4th. I do not rest. We do not rest until we get Ashesof creation videos out. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go out and enjoy the fireworks. I hope you guys do as well. All of you, warm-blooded Americans enjoying the 4th. I hope you guys have a good day. But regardless, let's talk about server meshing, and let's talk about all the information we got from the latest live stream. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say that this is the most exciting live stream that Ashesof Creation has come out with, especially after this year they've had the fighter live stream, they've had caravan PvP, and they've had Node Wars. And so it's going to be tough to top any of those live streams because of just due to how awesome they were to watch. But this was one of the most important live streams that I have probably seen in the last year, because frankly, the problem they're attempting to solve is an ongoing problem that MMORPGs as a whole have been attempting to solve for years now, to little effect. And I'll go into that in a little bit. Well, actually, it's my video, guys. I'll go into it now.
We will leave you with I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Right. Fucking thing sucks.
When you look at MMORPGs over the years, they typically suffer from one of, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. They typically lose something. They either lose performance, they either lose immersion, or they lose their large world experience. And now the problem with that is when you're a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, you kind of need all three in order to have a successful game. And so when we look at examples, a game that has good immersion, a game that has good combat, in my opinion, it's all subjective, of course, but poor performance is a game like The Elder Scrolls Online. If The Elder Scrolls Online had good performance, I would be playing it right now. I enjoy the combat, I enjoy the system, but the game doesn't work very well. And so from my perspective, it doesn't matter how good the game is. If the game doesn't work, you're not going to play it. Then you have other games like ArcAge, and more recently, a game that I've played, Throne and Liberty, where it has good performance. It has very good performance. The combat system is enjoyable. You have a lot of people online. You can have a bunch of people in the same area with good performance. But how they fix that is they allow you to zoom your character way out. To basically, it's like you're not even on Earth looking at your character. You're operating from like a satellite.
What the hell is even that?
And so some of these games are so far zoomed out, and I think it takes a lot of strain off the servers to be able to minimize pixels in this effect. And so you lose a lot of immersion in these types of MMORPGs. But if you like large-scale PvP, if you like the fact that the game actually works, that's a sacrifice you have to make, right? Like, this is a sacrifice that typically people have had to make. And then finally, you can look at a game like New World, where New World had good performance. They have a pretty good camera angle as far as immersion goes, in my opinion. This is all subjective, of course. What they suffered from is their servers were too small. And so it's really tough to have a massively multiplayer online role-playing game when your servers are 2,000 to 3,000 people. It just doesn't work very well. And so I often suffered when I would play that game where I would hop on late at night. You get to a point to where it's kind of like a dance party, right? Like you want to go to the club, you want to dance, you want to have a good time, but nobody else is there. So you're just going to go home. And that's the way playing New World was for a while. Like, I wanted to play sometimes past midnight. Sometimes I didn't have anything to do the next day, and I just wanted to relax and unwind because I didn't have the kids the next day. And I couldn't do it. And I couldn't do it because nobody else is online. There's nobody else to play with. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just log off and go to bed. And so those are examples of different games that miss out on that triad. And so what Ashesof Creation is trying to do is they're trying to have all three, right? They're trying to have the immersion effect of powerful classes. They're trying to have good performance to where they can do 250 PvP battles, as well as like a conglomeration of players around world bosses, around nodes, these sorts of things. And so when you look at this, when you look at what they're trying to do with their combat system, when you look at what they're trying to do with their performance, hitting this trilogy would be huge for the space because it's just very rare that a game can actually pull off all three. And so that's what they're attempting to fix. This is their entire goal, is to try to hit this trifecta that has been tough to hit by MMORPGs in the space. And so when you look at the server meshing system, you don't have to be a technical genius to understand like what they're trying to do. You just have to know they're doing something different than other games have done in the past. And in order to solve a problem like this that other games have suffered from, going down the same path isn't a good thing. Going down the sharding route isn't a good thing. Going down the instance-based dungeons and trials, I mean, it's a better option than the other previously bad ones, but it's not a good option to have if you're trying to have a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And so they're looking at addressing this picture as a whole. And so how they've approached this, some of the technical terms that they said is, a lot of traditional servers, they'll have their servers that will speak to a replicator. And so what it does is all these servers will provide information from their points of view, and then they'll spit it out to a replicator, and then the replicator spits it out to the other servers that need the information. It's a way of making sure all the servers are up to date with what's going on at any point in time for this world. Now, the problem that you have with this type of system, traditionally, is it creates a bottlenecking situation to where if you have a lot of people in an area, activating a lot of skills or abilities or doing a bunch of the same thing, it creates an overload to where this replicator can't push out this amount of information at a proper time. So what happens oftentimes is you have a rubber banding effect, you have lag, you have performance issues, and it's not just isolated to that area. With this type of system, the replicator goes to all points of the server, and so if one part is focused like this, everybody struggles. ESO, playing in Cyrodiil, I noticed this quite a bit, where sometimes when there was one or two ball groups on the map, the entire server would lag because it was just they were soaking up so much of this server information, and it just didn't leave anything for the rest of us trying to find a fight somewhere else. And so we've all experienced this. I'm sure you've experienced this as well. And so how they went about solving this is essentially getting rid of the replicator. And so instead of having all these servers speak to this replicator and having this one source of information, they have all these servers essentially working at an almost autonomous level for their area. They have the information for what's going on in their area. They speak to the other servers around them. And then they have basically a server network overlooking like chat, overlooking guild chat, different functions as well, in communicating with each other in a way to where if a server goes down, if there's an overload in an area, like too many people are chatting, or for whatever reason, like the chat server goes down, it doesn't crash the entire game. If we're all there farming a dragon because it has a specific dragon tooth that's important for the game, and all of a sudden in that area, that specific server is overloaded because there's too many people there, that server will crash. But because it's working more autonomously and because it's not bottlenecked by a replicator, it's not going to crash the entire server. And so when I heard this was huge news, because when you think about what games are doing, games are vying for your time. Games are vying for time for you to play them. The longer you play games, it's kind of like being at Vegas. The longer you are playing games, the more likely you are to spend money on said game because you're enjoying it, you're having fun doing it, it's your form of entertainment, you can justify spending more money at the game. If the servers are never crashing at 100% level, that means people are spending more time in game. That means, we've all been there where servers crash and we've gone down for 4, 6, 8 hours, sometimes 16 hours, 24 hours. Instead of playing another game, that portion of the map has to get patched, repaired, fixed, and those specific people, they're offline for a bit, but the entire server of 10,000 people is not. And so that is a huge impact on the overall retention players are going to have. I can't tell you how many times I watched my friends play in the first year in New World where they were stuck in loading screens just waiting. They were stuck in the waiting screen just waiting to log into the server because there was such a huge wait list. They would then log in, the game would crash, it would suffer from performance issues because so many people were online attempting to play the game. They were just like, man, I got on, I finally get to play. And people would get kicked, booted from the servers. They would get kicked right back into the wait list. And I know a few friends that had to spend 2 hours getting onto the game, and then they got kicked off, and then they had to wait again. And they were like, screw this, I'm not going to play this game. And so even though they may have enjoyed the game wasn't allowing them to play, and they chose something else. And that is money potentially that New World in that specific situation lost. And so when you look at these potential situations, and I don't want to dive into every single detail, it's super interesting. It's super interesting that they are approaching this and they're attempting to tackle a problem in a very interesting way. From my perspective, when you've seen games struggle for 10 plus years now with one of these three issues, you want to see a team approach it from a different perspective. The other ways aren't working. So the other ways aren't working properly. So to see a team attempt to innovate and try something new, we don't know if it's going to work. I'm not going to sit here and blow fairy dust up your ass and tell you that yeah, this is going to be freaking awesome and everything's going to work fine and we're going to have all this great PvP and performance is going to be amazing. I have no idea. But I do like the direction. I like them attempting to innovate and problem solve for their specific game, which is what they're doing. They're sourcing everything with their specific game in mind. And I think that is a very smart way to approach it. And so I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited that they have a plan and a framework to where they're attempting to solve all these issues that other MMORPGs are. And they're so confident in this that they opened up
later in the deck. But it seems like you guys liked the presentation. So again, Mike, thank you for putting that together, and for Hunter, Anton, and Zach for putting together such an amazing, very thorough explanation of the things that we're working on technology-wise. But with that comes some information that we want to share with you guys. Of course, we always like to be transparent. We like to give you guys a heads up on what's coming and what we're doing. And one of the things is that with this technology, we had stated previously that we weren't going to expand. We closed down our Alpha 2 packs for a reason. And that reason was we wanted to make sure that we could service all the users that we had. One of the things that we really want to make sure of is that no matter who we have joining us, that they're going to have a good experience. Obviously, alphas and alpha, things are going to be buggy. This is not a game. We've always continually said that it's going to be a testing phase. But with that, we still want it to be a decent experience for those of you who join us. And because of this amazing technology that these guys have been working on, we can now service more users, which means that we will be opening up Alpha 2 key access sales in the near future as we get closer to Alpha 2 or along with Alpha 2. So kind of stay tuned for that. We do want to make sure that folks are aware of that, but some caveats. These will not be pre-order packs. These will be key access. So these will be, to access the product once it's available. And then of course the pricing is still TBD, but we're going to try to make sure it's fair as possible, especially for those of you who have already purchased packages. We understand that you're like, hey, I purchased a package. We want to make sure that that price is comparable. So Stephen and I have gone back and forth, and we'll make sure that it is fair for you guys.
And they will not be, when we do release the access to they will not be additional rotating cosmetics either. So these will be static key access that players will have an opportunity to purchase in and access Alpha 2 and participate, because ultimately Alpha 2's purpose is to test the game.
That's exciting. I think that is great. I think they need to get the pricing appropriate and everything. But I've had quite a few friends ask me, like, hey, Alpha 2 is going to come out. Am I going to be able to play? And I'm like, no, they're closed. Like they're not taking any more offers. And like, well, that sucks. I'll watch, but that's unfortunate. Now all those people have an opportunity to participate if they so choose to, which is nothing but a good thing. I think it speaks highly of where they think they're at as far as the server goes. I think it speaks highly of the fact that they think during an Alpha 2 test that they can support more players. Keep in mind, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, they said that they were at over 100,000 Alpha 2 testers at that point. So this is over that number. How much over, we don't know. But, for an Alpha 2, them being able to take on more players, them being able to queue up more servers in order to have things running, nothing but a good thing. It's more information for them to test. It's more ways for them to find bugs. It's more people providing feedback. It is good for the game. It is good for players that want to get in there and test. You can't be mad about that. You can't be mad about that at all. I mean, you technically you can. I disagree with you, but yeah, that's where it is. And then finally, they announced that the Bard will be the July live stream. And I know we're in early July. Their late July live stream will be covering the Bard, which is very exciting. Very exciting because I have never played an MMORPG with a Bard in it. I have played Baldur's Gate 3, and in Baldur's Gate, the Bard is kind of a party multiplier. They kind of are a jack of all trades, can do a little bit of everything, and it's a really nice chess piece to have in that specific game. And the way they've talked about the Bard in Ashes of Creation is it's going to be a power multiplying class, like inspiring people to raise their defenses or raise their attack damage or raise their healing bonuses. It kind of reminds me of, being a point guard in basketball. Like you're distributing, your role is you can amplify your team if you play properly. And so I'm very excited to see how they're going to do the Bard because you just don't see him very often. You don't see a very effective Bard outside of being like a buff bitch, right? Like somebody that provides buffs and then they get kicked out of the group and a better class takes their place. And so they also announced an Alpha 2 date. No, they didn't. I'm kidding. I would have led with that if they did. But what they did say is in the July live stream, the one later on this month, they will announce the Alpha 2 date then. And so we got a date for the date that we're all looking forward to. And so it's not what I wanted. It's not what I expected. I was honestly expecting to get a date announcement this month. I will take that L. I will take that L with pride. But we're not getting it. We will move on. We will pick ourselves up, we'll kick the dirt off, and we'll get after the next one. But yeah, we're getting an announcement late July as to when Alpha 2 will be, and when we get to get in and get testing and get experiencing this awesome world that they're developing. So I'm going to end this video here. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below, and I will do my best to answer them. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.